Hello and welcome back to the Bobby and No Beardy Show. That's right, no Beardy today. He's gone on holiday. Selfish! But don't you worry.
Ridiculous.
I've got the perfect person for the job as a replacement. Friend of the show. Previous guest on the show. And most importantly, based on the topic, we're talking about Hellboy, the original 2004 film, 20 years ago. Can you believe it? Massive fan of Hellboy, just like myself. It's TorgiePie!
That's me!
How are you? How are you, Torgie?
I'm good. I just watched a great movie. I literally just finished it. This seems to be a trend for me. Because if I watch it not with this one, but with any movies that I watch for you that I haven't seen before, if I watch it any further in the past, then the day that I record, I will not remember it.
You just forget everything. Mm-hmm. I've done that a couple of times.
But I've seen this movie like 40 times.
Yeah.
So
I've made notes before for movies I've done with Beardy, and by the time he gets around to watching it, it's like a week later. I'm like, I don't know what any of these mean.
That's why I don't watch it. That's why I don't watch it until the day of.
Oh dear. There are time codes below, but this is basically going to be a spoiler review. Mild spoilers, mostly. A bit spoilers. It's a spoiler. Just don't worry about it. It came out 20 years ago. I highly recommend you see this film. It is my Hellboy film, personally. It's actually my introduction to Hellboy. I'd never heard of it before.
Same, actually.
Until 14-year-old Bobby, just as he was starting to go to, well, I say starting, I may have gone to the cinema with my friends before this, but this is like one of the first films I remember seeing in the cinema with my friends. Me and my friend Doug, we went and saw Hellboy. And also, did you know that Van Helsing came out in this same year?
Yeah, that makes sense.
What a year for cinema. 10 out of 10 all around.
Yeah, they get
incredible.
Listen, the early 2000s was pretty decent.
Yeah. I
can't dispute that fact. There were some bangers going on.
I'm reviewing Hellboy today, but Van Helsing is it's on my list. I've got a list, and
Van Helsing is
classic
great.
Films.
But then I feel like if we do Van Helsing, then like same vibe as these two, we got to do Underworld.
Oh, there's a lot of Underworld films though. That's a commitment.
Yeah, but that's a lot of Kate Beckinsale you get to look at.
That's true. Well, she's in Van Helsing as well, so yeah. This is...
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, this was my introduction to Hellboy. I've read a whole bunch of them since. I've got Seed of Destruction, which I did start reading again yesterday. I didn't get very far into it. I went to bed. I was sleepy. But yeah, this is, and I'm just keeping that in mind because I'm going to be super biased because there have been other Hellboys since. The new one's just come out here in the UK. Didn't get a cinematic release.
We're not getting it because it's so bad, but here we are.
It doesn't look fantastic. But also they went too spooky.
I'm going to try really hard not to spoil the other movies. However, it's also not going to be a secret that I love this movie and I love Ron Perlman, and I think that the Ron Perlman Del Toro combo along with the rest of the cast was unmatched, and I'm sad that we're never going to get a finish to the trilogy.
I think it's a travesty that we didn't get a third film or a fourth film or a fifth film. I understand technically they didn't do very well box office wise, but they came out, and I was about to talk about when I give you the rundown, they came out in a time when DVD sales actually mattered before things just died immediately on streaming. And Del Toro talked about wanting to do it. The others talked about wanting to do it. And then they made a bad decision to reboot with David Harbour, who is a fine Hellboy, but
I thought he did a great job.
The film is 50% bad.
Trash.
From the second half onwards. It's just not very. It's not, and it's also the key thing about it is it's not what people wanted. People wanted third Ron Perlman Del Toro film. They didn't get it, so it kind of got a bit of backlash just because they released something people didn't want. It's like if you're like, I really want vanilla ice cream. I was like, okay, cool. Here's some mint ice cream. I'm like, no, I don't want that. This might be fine, but it's not what I want. Also, mint ice cream is shit, by the way. I just hate it. Just like
I love mint. No, it has to have chips in it though, and it's got to have something in it to balance the toothpaste consistency.
No, unfortunately, trash.
You don't like chocolate oranges, though, either, do you?
It's true. I'm not a fan of chocolate orange in general.
Yeah, I like a good Terry's chocolate orange because I like food that I have to assault before I can eat it.
that is fun. Should we just do a food podcast today instead? Should we talk about food?
Oh my gosh. I want a Hellboy cookbook. That's what I want. I collect, I don't know if you know this about me. We'll talk about the movie soon, I fucking promise. I have like 7 of like the officially licensed cookbooks. I got one for the Alien franchise. I got one for Stardew Valley. I got the Sims one. Like, they should come out with one because I would buy the crap out of it.
It would just be ginormous portions as well. It would
Big
be like
meat.
It would be a regular chili, but made for 50 people.
Yeah. How to make your own Babe Ruth candy bars at home.
Right. Let me give you the rundown, and then we can talk all shenanigans. So, like I said, Hellboy released 2024. No, that's this year. 2004, 20-year anniversary, like I said. It's based on the Dark Horse Comics character of the same name. You'll be shocked to hear. Created by Mike Mignola, who I just finished reading his Baltimore Omnibus 1, which I highly recommend. It's set in 1917-ish. The First World War's just ended because there's been a massive vampire outbreak, and loads of
I hate when that happens.
Evil creatures have come to the surface, and there's a guy called Baltimore who's trying to sort it all out. It's good. Anyway, this is the first film of the Hellboy franchise, although this is the first of 2 that are connected and then reboots.
It was supposed to be a trilogy. These first 2 were written to be a trilogy.
Like I said, I saw it in 2004 when I was a little boy, and I'm super biased about it. This film specifically draws inspiration from the Hellboy comic Seed of Destruction, the one I was talking about a minute ago. And there are actually just some bits taken straight, like dialogue just yoinked straight out, especially in the first bits in Scotland. Directed and written by Guillermo del Toro. Mike Mignola was involved, as he is with all the Hellboy films. He's always in there saying, this one's my vision. And then the next one, this one's my proper vision. He loves it. The Ron star. I cannot talk today, Torgie. This is a disaster.
You called him Don earlier.
I called him Don.
Who the fuck's in this movie?
I was calling him the Don. He's the Don
like
of being
Donny
Hellboy.
Boy, that guy Don. He's the big red guy.
Listen, I'm friends with him. I get to call him Don.
I met him. That's a story for another day.
So you're friends with him.
I have met Ron Perlman, though.
You've met Ron Perlman, and as a result, I get to mistype him, call him Don.
He's real big.
The film stars Ron Perlman as Hellboy, Summer Blair as Liz Sherman, Jeffrey Tambor as FBI Director Tom Manning, Carl Roden as Grigory Rasputin, John Hurt as Trevor Bruntenhall.
Pause. What's his name?
What did I say?
It's Sir John Hurt. He was knighted. You put respect on his name.
I apologize, Sir John Hurt.
You respect him, man.
I blame the Wikipedia page, which I grabbed the cast from, because it doesn't call him Sir John Hurt.
It's a Wikipedia. Edit it right now.
Unacceptable. Sir John Hurt plays Trevor Bruntenhall, who is Hellboy's human dad and the head of the Bureau for Paranormal. He is Hellboy's human dad. Don't laugh at that.
You said human dad.
It's his human dad.
Human dad.
He's the head of the Bureau for Paranormal Research and Defense, BPRD. Kevin Trainor, I just want to say that he plays the young Professor Broom, and he's excellent in the early scenes on that suspicious Scottish island.
If somebody told me that they went back in time and took Sir John Hurt as a young one and put him in this movie, I would have believed it.
Yeah.
I think he looks so similar to him.
I actually did have to double check if they'd cast a younger guy or if they'd because this is a while ago, 20 years ago. John Hurt didn't die too long ago. I was wondering if they'd aged him up in.
That's what I was wondering, or if they aged him down, if they shot all of his old stuff first and then dyed his hair or whatever to make him play his younger self.
But he's great. Is he in the second one, or is that just Sir John Hurt? Because there's a flashback.
No, I think it's just Sir John Hurt, but I think that guy is also in, there was a spin-off TV series or something. He also plays a young John Hurt in that. So he has played him twice.
I see. Doug Jones plays Abe Sapien, although David Hyde Pierce is uncredited for this film, but does voice him. Doug Jones takes over fully in the second one. A name that I will definitely butcher here is Ladislav Beran. who plays Karl Ruprecht Horan. He's the German assassin. He's the cool German assassin guy. Bridget Hodson appears as, I'm not even going to try and say that name. She's a crazy lady. She's a Nazi henchman for Rasputin. and Corey
just a henchman?
Henchwoman, sorry.
But she was sliding in those DMs.
For sure. There was definitely some loving going on there as well.
They were smooching. I don't know about love, but they were.
I don't know if they're allowed to do that though. That's mixing business and pleasure.
There's a whole song about who Rasputin's been smashing. What do you mean?
That's true, actually. I've got some more about Rasputin in a bit. And Corey Johnson as Agent Clay, who's just a guy. They could have just written him as he's just a bland agent who introduced him.
No, he's great.
They gave him. He's just had a hair transplant, so he's got some character to him. I've got a bit just on general characters in this and how I love them in general. Released April 2nd, 2004. Said it right this time. 2 hours, 2 minutes. Again,
near my birthday.
No, just a couple of weeks after mine. Another tight 90-minute movie that I claim is all they made back in the day. It's not true. It's a lie. I've made this lie. I've convinced myself that all films pre-2010 were 90 minutes, I think, in my head.
I like shorter movies. I mean, honestly, some of my favorite movies from back then are all over 2 hours.
Mm. Well,
The Shining's 17 hours long, so there's that.
All the ones we've done on this, the classics review bit, have all been way longer than I remember.
The Batman one that I did with you guys, that was 2 hours.
Yeah, and the sequel, Batman and Robin, was also 2 hours. The Mummy, the good one, not the top.
Oh yeah, that's over 2 hours.
Over 2 hours. Oh yeah, I've just made this lie. I fabricated a lie and believed myself that all films.
It's the Mandela effect.
Yeah. It had a box office at the time of, we might as well just say 100 mil. It was made for around 65 there or thereabouts. So in today's money, it was made for 110 and it made 166. So again, not a rip-roaring box office success, but DVDs, and that's why. He got to make, Del Toro that is, got to make a second film. Also, he made Pan's Labyrinth in between, and that was a big success. So they were like, yes, you can come back and do even more Pan's Labyrinth eye shit. Which you definitely see in the sequel.
I like when people just give Del Toro money and they're like, go, do Del Toro things. And he does, because he does the damn thing every time.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic.
Really wish we'd seen his Hobbit films. Just to see how many big-handed eye monsters he would have
been so sick.
Yeah, I mean a lot less CGI
that would have been
stuff.
So cool.
Well. It would have been a lot more actual puppets and animatronics, which is something I love about this film. Here's a good quote. I've got two good quotes for you. You tell me which one's the best quotes, and then we'll get into the movie. Okay. There are things that go bump in the night. We are the ones who bump back.
The ones that bump back. Yeah, I like that one.
Good quote. Or, that's a cool line. I like that line. It was in the trailer, I'm pretty sure, back in the day. Or is this one better? Look at the size of that whammer!
Oh, it's the second one. I have a few different quotes in here that make me laugh every single time.
There's the look of the size of that whammer when Hellboy first comes through and the army general is
because that's such a military guy thing. No thoughts. Brain smooth, big hand. That's all he was thinking.
Yeah. So the movie starts in Scotland. The weather's classic Scottish weather. Rain. Am I right? And we meet all the Nazis. Little Hellboy comes through. You get the Chocky Bar commercial. And like I say,
if you haven't seen this movie, that description is exactly how it happens, and there's nothing that happens in between. Don't worry about it.
No, don't worry about it. Other than a few unneeded characters, like Human Torch or whatever his name is, this guy right here, and a clairvoyant person. That basically is the scene. They've just kind of they've taken quotes directly out of it. Stuff. But yeah. Do you want to gush about the movie for a second, Torgie?
I love this movie. It's no secret, even over here, I think, that you can bleep this if you want. I'm a monster fucker. I love monsters. I've always enjoyed monsters. I love monster design. I love practical effects. I like when people do special effects well. I'm just such a big sucker for that whole situation. And Del Toro, I think, does it so perfectly every single time. I think a lot of people are like, he reuses a lot of his characters. Yeah, well, they're great. So maybe he should be less good at his job and then he'll make new ones all the time. But I think they're pretty fantastic. Yeah, like even the character design of like the Hellhounds guys, the little like the eggs and like the way that like they work in a colony, like you have to figure all that stuff out. And I really like the dark and the spooky and the creepy and the mystical and the fantastical and this was just a recipe for success for me.
Yeah, the look of this movie, the practical work they do with the monsters, especially there's CGI in it for some of the big slammy and things, but
even those I think look really good.
They don't look terrible. They do not look terrible for 20 years ago. But all the close-ups, you've got these actual physical things, and they've sprayed them down so they're all dripping and gross looking, and the eyes kind of genuinely feel real. They just look incredible.
Yeah.
It's like everything's so real and touchable and tangible, and the hounds are right there. And they look yucky and things. And Ape Sapien looks fantastic as well.
Yeah.
No surprise there. And when they're asking for directions, this is way later in the movie, in the Russian graveyard, that puppet that he carries around looks excellent. Yeah. Again, taken straight out of comics. I love it. Looks fantastic. It's good stuff. The only thing I don't like about this movie, look-wise, I would say, is there's a lot of wire work where people just go straight backwards. And sometimes, I know it's a complete artistic choice, so it's absolutely fine, ultimately. But sometimes it does look a little weird, a little silly.
So I kind of love it when they do crazy stuff like that. Because, like, at the end of the day, this is a cinematic representation of a comic book. So, like, these are not supposed to be real people. This is not supposed to be real Earth. This is not supposed to be real physics. And them adding those little bit of CG, like, touches with all the practical stuff that they do makes it feel like I'm watching a comic book movie.
That is
like,
true.
if it didn't look kind of ridiculous, and that's kind of how I felt about the Batman one, too. Like, if it didn't feel a little bit crazy, I think it wouldn't have worked as well for me.
I think it works better in some bits, like when he's in the museum and he's having that early fight with one of the hounds.
That whole fight in the museum is fantastic.
And he gets launched through like 3 or 4 glass cabinets, and you kind of see his perspective. The camera follows him as he's going bam, bam, bam. That scene looks great. There's a bit in the subway where he's fighting a different hound, and he gets whacked, and he kind of goes, whoa. That's the kind of that's
like
the shot.
slides. Yeah.
Okay, but it's just in general the look of this movie. Perlman looks fantastic. I'm probably going to mention it in a little bit more. That he was my introduction to Hellboy, so whenever I see, that's what I expect to see. Even though when he look, I can pick it up this again because it's right here, but he doesn't quite look like Ron Perlman, but
he literally looks. I think Ron Perlman looks just like
pretty damn close.
Spray painted him red, and they were like, "Go do Ron Perlman things," and that's what he did, and he's just so good at it.
And when I read these comics and things, like I'm imagining Ron Perlman, like straight out. The general arc and feeling towards this movie, I'd like to cover really quickly, because again, introduction, love it. Haven't watched it in quite a while though. You've watched it definitely more times than I have.
I watch it at least once a year.
Oh, really? I haven't watched it in a decade at this point, so I was really excited to come back to it. But I think the movie goes like this in general. The opening in Scotland is great. The introduction of Hellboy in the facility, and then the museum scene when he goes to beat some people up. That's great. There's an underwater scene with Abe, which is he's collecting eggs and things. That's really good. And then there's a bit of a lull in the movie where it becomes a bit of an awkward love triangle, not love triangle. John Myers is involved, who we'll talk about in a minute. And it's just... give me more Hellboy punching things instead of this, please. But then they go to Russia, and it ramps right back up, and there's big cogs and mechanisms, and it feels a little Indiana Jonesy kind of thing briefly, and then he punches a big squid, and it's great stuff. So
it is great stuff. Yeah,
right here, a little bit here, and then great here again. And I'd kind of forgotten the middle bit. In my brain, I only remembered the good bit. So when I was watching this going, what's this love triangle stuff happening? I don't remember this very much at all. I knew it happened, but it went on for longer than I thought.
Something that when I was doing this rewatch this time, I don't know why this time I picked it up specifically. I just assume when I look at the mass that is Ron Perlman that he's just a grown man, like in his 40s or 50s. Hellboy, they even talk about it when John first comes to the compound. Hellboy is canonically in this movie 20 years old, like mentally. He's like 60 physically in human years, but like mentally he's barely out of his teens.
Yeah, and he acts like it.
And I think that's what I'm saying though, is I think all of the issues I had with this movie before were of me thinking that that's supposed to be a grown ass like devil demon who's been here doing his half human, half demon, whatever the fuck thing for like years and years and years. He's a baby.
Yeah.
He's an angsty hormonal teenager whose dad grounds him for sneaking out of the house after curfew.
Yeah.
Like, and that's who's saving everyone. So everything else makes total sense after all of that.
It is true. And I can't remember, because I haven't really seen Golden Army in a long time either. I can't remember if he properly like starts to grow up in that film, because it's only
he does.
But yeah, like basically the way the comics work is Hellboy goes to a spooky woods more often than not. A spooky woods. He meets a spooky thing or people in one to a million spooky things. And then he's like, well, I better punch these guys till they stop being spooky. And that's basically... So you don't really get that in this film as much, because you've got young hormonal Hellboy. That said, I really do like the way they've kind of, because that's what the comics are, and they show little snippets of things and adventures and things. I really like how they've elaborated on the world, and it feels real and crisp. It's a little Men in Black at times. Which obviously came out not too long before. But they've given like all the characters little things to do, like the clay with his hair plugs. They didn't have to do that. I just think it works really well.
Yeah.
How they've built the world, and they've got some excellent characters on both sides.
Yeah, they do.
Shall I talk about some of those characters now? I will.
Heck yeah.
You got Hellboy, obviously. Great stuff. Perlman is the look, everything, excellent. Jeffrey Tambor is as the head of the FBI. He's a lot of fun. He's the corporate foil. He's not particularly happy about Hellboy. He makes a lot of threats that he couldn't possibly follow through on, because there's absolutely no chance in hell anything would get done without him. He starts throwing his weight around a little bit, and then they become buddies over a cigar at the end. It's funny. He's a lot of fun. He's kind of he's a comedic relief character, but he does it well. And then you've got the Sandtimer Nazi, who's like he's cut himself to shreds.
That character design is so sick.
Incredible.
I want a whole movie talking about him growing up as a Nazi doctor and doing all those experiments on himself, because it would be so dark and it would be so messed up, and I want it so bad.
Yeah.
I want it so bad.
He pumps, winds himself up, so if he's got to do some big attacks,
so sick looking.
I mean, like, a lot of his motions is kind of pointless. He's like standing around a bunch of 6 guards. He's like, wow, 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 wow. And he just stands there. And the guard's like, oh, he did.
He's a Leo. Leave him alone. He can't help it.
You got Rasputin. Rasputin in real life.
10 out of 10.
Just a weird political sex freak. In all movies, cool villain.
Magical. Magic. Everywhere.
In this one, he's just a wizard in this one, full blown. He opens a portal.
He was a wizard in Anastasia too.
He opens a portal and gets sucked through it. Then he gets born again via a big old blood pool from that guy who... I reckon that guy they murdered. Did they select him on purpose? Because he's got at least thrice too much blood in him. There's
I was
so
literally
going
to say, how does that jacket funnel out your blood? Like, was he wearing a blood pump vest that was made by Canada Goose or something that, like, if you get stabbed, it pumps out all of your blood at a rapid pace?
It fills this, like, maze, this water maze.
Half of it.
And then it fills the pool, and oh my word, he's hogging blood. He's hogging blood. I don't know, he's doing something suspicious.
Poor Rasputin's little booty cheeks probably had blood frostburn on them, and that is not a good way to be reborn into the world. I
agree. Well, I'll tell you another way.
They didn't even think about him.
Another way not to be, particularly well born back into the world. He's got a big squid in him later. He's got a big squid. He's a wizard.
Well, it's probably a little squid at this point.
Oh, that's true, actually. Squid at that point, yeah. Talking back to characters, Ape Sapien, the design look incredible.
10 out of 10.
Looks better than the comics, but because there's more detail. In fairness, the art style in the comics doesn't necessarily lend that much, but they made him look incredible. And I don't care what Del Toro says. The look of Ape Sapien 100% inspired the exact look of The Shape of Water, his weird fish sex movie. He claims it's completely irrelevant, but it's a lie, and I just want him to admit it. Just admit it, Del Toro. Man to man. You stole his look, and you went, I want to see that guy fuck.
I think Abe is hotter.
Well, than Del Toro?
No, then the other fish guy. Whoever the other fish guy was from the other movie.
Well, we'll have to...
Personally.
We'll have to do a side-by-side comparison, and we'll put a vote.
I did, and I think Abe is more attractive. He also would be more fun to talk to, even though he eats rotten eggs.
Yeah, but he does it in his own... He doesn't do it in front of you. He's not like just walking
around
munching.
He does it in his goo. I don't want to get in the juice with him if it's going to be all rotten eggy.
Based on what you said earlier. I'm not so sure that's true.
No, we would have to get into a clean... I need, like, running water, like, filtered. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. And then you get to John Myers as a character. Is he needed in this film? Like, really?
Well, yeah, he's got to try to fuck Liz.
Is that needed in this film, though, really?
That's his entire point.
It's true.
I honestly think the only reason why they included John in the script was so that they could kill off Clay. To have someone to take care of Hellboy after both of his father figures die.
Yeah.
Needed to be someone.
It's true. I just don't know if, like, when I first watched it all those years ago, you do genuinely use John Myers as a point of view character. That's what he's intended to be. I'm just not sure he's really needed to be there. Like, and everything he's kind of connected to is like the worst bit of the movie for me, which is it makes Hellboy jealous. They've got the Liz love triangle. There's a super long date surveillance where Hellboy befriends a kid and gets cookies. Oh
my god, and he throws a rocket, John. It makes me laugh so hard every single time because the kid goes, good shot.
Also, just like love triangle, come on, John Myers. You can't possibly compete.
If I got a new job, okay, let me set the scene for you. I'm John. I get a new job at the FBI, and I get assigned to this unit.
Yeah.
I go in, I find out that a comic book character that I've always loved from when I was a baby is real.
Yeah.
So I try to make out with his girlfriend who can set herself on fire.
And he does that. He starts doing that. The day after, she burns down a hospital. And
that's what I'm saying. Like
Abe Sapien goes out of his way.
He has no self-perseverance.
But Abe Sapien goes out of his way earlier in the movie to go, oh, you're pure of heart. And I'm like, he's not. No, he's not. He's a dirty dog.
No, he's not.
He's trying to weasel his way in when she's emotionally like open because she just burnt down a hospital facility because Rasputin whispered into her head. And you know that the first thing you see is when he meets Hellboy. By the way, when he gets introduced to Hellboy, nobody tells him nothing, and it's so stupid. Not even a little briefing. They're like, yeah, give him these chocolate bars. Don't look at him. And he's like, well, don't look at what? His horns. You didn't want to tell him that 2 minutes ago before you go in. Clay, stop messing with him. The scene where
it's just normal-sized Ron Perlman standing in front of him, and he's like trying so hard not to look at his horns, but he's like, just like staring directly at them.
Oh, and then at the end, poor Myers, he just stands there as Liz and Hellboy start to make out. Absolute cuck of a human.
And watches.
Just watches like, oh, I wanted her, I guess. Like,
disgusting.
What are you doing? John, you're embarrassing yourself. Stop it.
Also, I'm sorry, John, do you really think you have a fucking shot against the Hellboy?
He's
like, get out of here.
He can't compare. Look at the size of his horns.
His name is like John Smith. Like, fuck off, my guy. Jesus. You got no shot.
No.
You think between the fish guy and the literal devil from literal hell, they're going to pick the twink from the FBI? No. And oh no, got out of here. No.
Oh.
I refuse to believe that.
Yeah. I will say, rewatching this film again did make me reevaluate my opinion of the David Harbour Hellboy. films, like I kind of alluded to earlier. Because Ron Perlman's my Hellboy, as I've said a trillion times already. David Harbour is a pretty good Hellboy. And even though the movie's got big problems, I was like, you know what? This first Hellboy has some problems with this love triangle stuff as well. I'm not the biggest fan of it. It does slow down the movie. So yeah, if we get around to watching the David Harbour ones as well, I'll be interested to know what upon a fresh rewatch.
I haven't watched it since it came out.
I've watched it once. So yeah, I'd like to see what my full opinions are, and if they change from the first half of the movie's good and the second half's trash.
I will say, my mom and I went to go see it when it first came out, and we almost walked out.
Really?
Because we were having such a bad time that we almost left.
Oh dear.
So I would also be interested to see if I have that visceral of a reaction.
Yeah.
But I like a good naked grandma in a horror movie. And what was Baba Yaga if not a naked grandma in the woods? I like a good naked grandma in a horror movie, so maybe I'll really like it. Who knows? I don't know.
It's true. It's true. Yeah. And then like new Hellboy looks weird. Not sure about that one. But see. We'll see.
I just really like Ron Perlman's like one-liners. Like it just felt like it came so natural to him to be this like snarky, like type A, like teenage kind of like it just felt so natural to him. I think the relationships between all of the actors felt so natural, and I think that really helped too. Like it didn't feel like I was watching actors act. It felt like I was like put in this world. Yeah. To me.
There's Hellboy's one-liners and just the way he talks to the monsters he's fighting or the people around him, like Ape Sapien at the start of the museum thing. He's like got his hands on the door. He's kind of his powers to like read the room. He's talking about there's a great evil or whatever behind it. And Hellboy's response is, well, guess I'll go say hi. Just wonders. And he's like, he's describing how he's a terrible shot, but he's got a really big gun. It's like, yeah. And all of his no tongue on a second date kind of thing when he's fighting the big tongue hound monsters and things.
Yep.
Yeah, it's good. I like it. And then
I liked those.
And then the Russian end sequence where they all get separated and big punches happen and there's big swinging things, destroying bridges. And that poor guy holding the guy who was raised from the dead just gets slammed into oblivion because the head of the FBI is being a jerk.
I do want to talk about the one part of this movie that I didn't like.
Go for it.
It's one line, and it happens about mid-movie. And the reason why I have such an issue with this line is because it is never discussed again, and it is the biggest thing. Like, this could have changed the entire franchise. So there's a middle of the point in the movie where Hellboy sneaks out, and he goes to the hospital to go hang out with Liz and go see her because she's not been at the bureau for a long time. And they're sitting on the bench and they're talking, and she's like, if you love me, you're not going to come back. Like, I need to heal. I need to do this stuff for myself. She goes inside, and then his entourage pull up, and as Myers is walking up to him, he like clutches his chest and like falls to the ground, and Myers goes, oh my god, you lost a lot of blood, are you okay? And he goes, this is nothing, you know it'll kill me, don't you?
That's true.
It's never talked about again in this movie, in any of the other movies. It's not talked about in any of the comics. I've scoured Reddit. It's not in any fan fiction. It's not in anything. They never talk about it again.
So that you know what that means, right? It means
and nobody knows how to kill him.
He's just being an angsty teenage boy. He's like, oh, but love drama. This will kill me. It's too much for me. That has to be what it is.
That has to be what it is. And I hate that. I don't like that at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know it'll kill me, don't you? No. No one knows.
It's not fire. It's not an
explosion.
You
don't even know. It's not fire.
Climb into a big squid and set off some grenades next to him. That won't kill you.
Ridiculous.
So, yeah, he does all right.
There is one part where they're in the sewers before they go and put Abe under the water, and Hellboy is talking to Clay, and Clay's like looking at his hair extensions, and he's like, are you sure it doesn't look bad? And Hellboy cracks the things on his arm, and he goes, I'm thinking about doing it myself. It makes me laugh every time.
Yeah.
Just the way he says it. I'm thinking about doing it myself.
But yeah, it's just such a fun movie, and it's like it's PG-13, and or whatever it was back in the day. I think they've changed the ratings since it came out here in the UK. But you know, anyway, most teenagers onwards can watch it and things. And
oh yeah,
it's just a good fun time, and it's silly, and it kind of knows what it is, and it really nails the mass market audience that these folklore, spooky, punchy comic books are, which is and I feel like since then they've kind of lost their way. This new one's gone proper spooky dookum. I'm not sure that's the answer. It also looks really cheap and like, awkward. David Harbour, they went the completely one way. They went more blood, more gore. Yeah. That's what we need for this franchise.
But not real blood and real gore. It was all CG blood, which doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, and I don't know. I just feel like everyone in this film like plays their roles. Rasputin's such a cool evil character who just whispers evil stuff, and you've got the Nazi sandtimer assassin. There's a big squid fight at the end with a sword. It's just I like it. I really like it. It's just as simple as that. It's just a good fun time. Also, I've just looked at my notes, and there's a car flip in this film, which were prevalent.
I took notes about the car flip.
So prevalent in cinema at that time. Like every action film had a car flip at that point. They must have but Hollywood must have bought car flips en masse and were just putting them into every film because they needed to use them up. But that driver is heading straight for John Myers.
Yeah.
And makes zero attempt to slow down. Even when a big flipping demon stands in front of him, the car's still going 60. Like, if anything, it speeds up and he's like, red means stop, punch. I'm like, that driver deserves to get his car flipped.
Clearly you've never driven in DC.
What a jerk, though. He doesn't even consider stopping. There's a human being there, and then there's a big demon who I wouldn't personally. I'm not sure.
I wrote, car flip scene is fucking sick. I don't care what anyone says. That was sick. He flipped a car. He flip cupped a car. That's really cool.
Yeah. What an asshole, though, that driver. Honestly, come on, man. Slow down.
I also really like all of Hellboy's like nicknames for the dog. He calls him Chunk Face at one point. And the phrase chunk face is just so funny.
It's a good one.
I'm going to be calling all of my ferrets chunk face from now on.
So what do you think of the ending? So Rasputin gets Hellboy in his he's locked in, and he will only let him out if Hellboy promises to be the right hand of doom and unlock the big sky beam. Because everyone loves a sky beam in a movie, and release the Space Kraken. Yeah. Did you think that he needed to be locked up at all? Because he's just getting.
I mean, that was less of like. I think that was just more of Rasputin being like, "Look, I have your girl. I sucked her soul out. Literally, that's not a sexual metaphor. That literally happens."
I saw it.
And then he's like, "Look, I can do whatever you want, so you might as well just like." I think it was like a Dom situation. Yeah. He was like, I'm the daddy, and you need to realize that that's who I am, and like put some respect on my name. And then that's when he like says his own name, and then that's when like his horns start growing back. He kind of like accepts his fate as like a
because like you'd think once he gets out he could just punch Rasputin in the face, but he's like, no,
but I think then he was like so distraught of like losing the only thing that was important to him, and
John Myers is right there. John Myers is right there. The most important thing to him, John Myers.
Okay, Hellboy just saw that blonde lady hit him in the face with a sledgehammer. He's dead for all Hellboy knows. She hit that man so hard in the face with a sledgehammer.
He shakes that off like nobody's business. Like 10 minutes later, he's like, I'm fine. That man's got a concussion minimum. What the heck?
He's so, like, how did she not lobotomize him by hitting him so hard in the face with a sledgehammer?
So he unlocks the first key. He's gonna do the second, and then we get the. Hellboy.
And then John turns into Mufasa and goes, remember who you are.
And Hellboy's like, okie dokie, no Armageddon for me. And
he's like, oh, I love humans. I fucking forgot. Sorry. Top tier, John. Yes, you're so right.
Yeah, and then he kills Rasputin. Then there's a big squid fight, which is barely an inconvenience. And then he does a big threat to the gods of the underworld. And they're like, you can just have Liz back. Don't worry about it. Off you go. That's fine by me. You like that? I like it.
Yeah, I thought it was fine.
I like a threat to unknown gods. And they're so spooked by him. I'm a big fan of that.
What I want to know is...
He does go to hell in the comic books, in fairness. He does, like, go down there and sort
so he goes to hell in the comic books. So the space Cthulhu is in hell? Or is Space Cthulhu in space?
Kind of makes
hell in space?
It looks like it's in space, but I think it might be in a different dimension, space. Because it's in
hell?
It's in a big, it doesn't look like it.
Because that's where the space krakens are, is the same place that Hellboy came from, right?
So he's threatening them. So and they're like, no.
But he's a demon who came from hell, right? So there's space in hell. I don't know what I'm getting at, but I'm saying I'm concerned.
It's nice to be able to get away from hell, if you got a spaceship. That's what I'm thinking.
But what if space is hell in hell? What if we just got it wrong? What if we got the wrong direction?
Oh.
What if you want to go to the center of the earth? Oh, well, I don't know anymore.
Just gonna have to find out. We're gonna have to spend
because every movie I've seen about space, alien, bad. Space bad.
That's true.
Predators, space bad. Bad things in space.
Yeah.
Attack on Mars, bad space. Bad space. Starship Troopers, bad space. This movie, space bad.
You're starting to put connections here. You can have one next time we see you. You can have one of those.
Just a board. I don't need sleep. I need answers.
I do love this movie though. I
love this movie.
Minus the unnecessary love triangle. I just don't feel it.
Well, if you hate unnecessary love triangles, you're gonna love the second one.
Oh, good. I can't remember anything about that either.
Don't worry, they're related.
Great. Oh,
to each other.
Yeah, it's the elves. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're both hot. Can we talk about that for a second? I feel like we haven't talked about how hot everyone is enough.
I feel like you alluded to it quite well, actually.
Everyone is so hot, and I don't understand why. Young John is hot. Old John is hot. The fish is hot. The Hellboy is hot. The Liz is hot. Everyone's hot.
John Myers.
The dogs are really cool.
John Myers getting a mention.
Rasputin is hot. Space Cthulhu is hot. Why are they all hot? It doesn't make any... panic. And then it's like, don't worry. We'll have a whole new movie with all new things that you'll want to have sex with. And I'm like, movie, please. Del Toro, please stop making movies. Everything is so hot. Give me a break.
I don't necessarily know if that's his intention when he makes movies.
I think it is. I
say that. He did make Shape of Water, which is the entire intention. So
he was like, fine, everyone wants to fuck the fish. I think it's weird. Have a whole movie about it. Now shut up.
Oh, dear. Well, anyway.
Here, you freaks have your fish movie.
That's been our review. Our absolutely insane review of the first Hellboy movie. I believe I've talked about everything I wanted to talk about. I talked about all the cool characters. I talked about Perlman as Hellboy being great, the look of the movie, general arcs, and how the love story bit's a bit bleh, or whatever. I like this movie. I really enjoyed rewatching it. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
I'm glad I've read all these comics as a result of watching this movie when I was a 14-year-old boy. It's good stuff. I'm giving it a thumbs up, obviously. We didn't
2 thumbs from me.
2 thumbs. My goodness.
I love this movie.
Anyway, thanks so much for watching, everybody. I've been Bobby. That's been TorgiePie. There's links in the description, both of us. And we'll see you next time for Hellboy 2: The Golden Army.
Next week. Oh, my gosh.
Oh, my gosh. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Bye.